All right, everyone. And again, I have Bill Kahlert from INBOX25 with me. And this episode, we will call Back with Bill. I think that's going to be our segment from now on, Bill. Back with Bill.
All right.
That's going to be it.
I like it.
So, Bill mentioned to me that he'll be speaking very soon about a topic that is going to really help a lot of businesses develop a real good grasp and strategy on everything, and that's data architecture. Now, this isn't a topic that I thought of. This was something that he definitely brought to my attention, and after talking with him a few, it is a very, very good topic, especially in the enterprise space, to understand how data architecture plays into your marketing campaign. So, Bill, tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and welcome everybody. It's nice to be back with you folks. So, as everybody knows, I'm with a marketing automation platform, and we speak many times throughout the day, the week, the month, to marketing folks about their strategy and their tactics, about what they're trying to accomplish with their business goals. And what we find is a lot of times when we speak marketing automation, there is a integration with a CRM platform. And of course, we speak about in a natural sense about the breaking down barriers between the sales and the marketing organizations and the support organizations and operations, and wanting to have a central repository and increasing transparency of the interactions and the ability to really impact business processes with the marketing automation platform. And what ends up happening is when we peel the onion back and we get into the details of examining companies' processes and what they're trying to accomplish, we oftentimes find ourselves engaging multiple people inside of an organization in these discussions, and this inevitably turns back to the IT organization and the people that end up owning the CRM, because that's never is really the sales force or the sales organization. It really ends up being the IT ops team that owns the CRM tool. And so when we start looking at the CRM, then we start looking about the data that resides in the CRM, because we want to incorporate and utilize this data in a lot of our sales processes. And several times we've run into instances to where the way the data was originally architected and input into the CRM, it's not able to easily be accessed by a marketing automation tool, which therefore ends up severely limiting the impactfulness of the marketing automation platform to that organization's processes. And at the end of the day, you really want, right? So you really want to be able to not just automate a little sliver of a process or say, okay, well, we can engage with a new customer or a new prospect to a certain extent only, but you want to be able to have access to all the data and their entire engagement cycle so you can really do impactful marketing processes. So I would really encourage folks to, when they are looking at marketing automation platforms, to really look at how the data is architected and categorized and input into the CRM, and to really shy away from, or to be cognizant of the fact that, geez, if you have data sitting in a completely custom module or custom field and with strange structures, that you're going to be severely limited. And we've actually found to be the case to where some firms have they've integrated it and they've customized it to such an extent that they literally cannot use 90% of the functionality of the marketing automation platform, just because the way the CRM was originally architected. We ran into one case last year outside the US. It was a very large firm where they actually tore out the CRM itself, which was really shocking that they tore out the CRM. It was going to cost them upwards of $500,000 to re-architect and re-input all the data into a new CRM.
Wow.
And they just tore it out and they went without a CRM, which is really a shame. There's that should never have had to go happen. So that would be and it's really imperative for marketing folks, and the pressure on marketing folks is so extensive today. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of technologies and platforms out there. There are other people out there that do studies, and they'll do a marketing landscape picture. And I think the growth in vendors has just exploded over the past 2 to 4 years in terms of all of the niche solutions and point solutions out there. So the pressure for marketing folks to learn technology and to really bridge that gap to be marketing technologists as opposed to just straight marketing people is intense. But it's a necessary evil for those people that actually can do that. They definitely have a leg up in the marketplace.
Okay. Now, is it because, like, for instance, the IT department, they are only concerned with the technology, so they don't even know what data sets need to really be in place and so forth. And so the marketers, they're more in line with the business, and so they know what they want to see and who they want to say things to, but they don't know how to relay that in a technical aspect to say this is the information we need to see in the CRM. Is that the disconnect, or is it something more than that?
Will you do me a favor and restate that question? Your screen froze a little bit and I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I froze a little bit. Okay.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
The challenge is, it the IT department only looks at the technical aspects. So they're only looking at data sets and so forth, and they don't really understand what the business wants. So they're just saying, here's the data we're going to filter in. And then the marketing, in line with the business, they know the messaging and what they want to see, but they can't relay that message to the IT department because they don't really understand that technical breakdown. Is that the challenge that they're facing?
Well, yeah, exactly. 10, 20, 30 years ago, departments inside of organizations could operate in silos. So you'd have the marketing group, and then you'd have sales, and then you'd have IT over here, and there was really not a lot of interaction in that. IT could, they were in charge of maintaining the desktops and the accounting systems and the communication, and the marketing folks were just marketing stuff, and then sales, of course, they would go drive revenue. But now with the explosion in technology, to your point, the IT organization is just it's a service oriented part of the organization. So they don't necessarily know the business. Marketing folks don't necessarily know how the data is architected. They just know what they need. But we actually need that bridge, and that's where you need a business analyst from IT to come in, and almost like a marketing technologist from marketing to come in and say, okay, we're going to tell you what it is that we need, but the format that we need it, and then IT needs to come back and say, aha, I understand the business. This is how it's set up. So how are we going to be able to access the data that's set up in this way with this tool that maybe has these entrance points in, right? Or maybe this tool. So it becomes a real challenge when you have a traditional marketing team and a traditional IT team, and then you have the strategy execs, the CEO, trying to make a decision because IT is tasked with owning technology to a certain point, but yet the paradigm has shifted now, because now you look at CMOs and they have technology budgets. So So who ends up owning the technology at the end of the day? Is it the CMO, or is it the CIO? Is it the chief revenue officer? Who actually owns this technology? So I see this in many times to where it becomes a subtle little chess match as to me what kingdom that technology falls under. Is it the user? Is it the IT group? It's very interesting. I see this merging, and I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that in the future you'll have marketing folks working in IT and IT folks working in marketing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that's something. And you mentioned that you actually saw a case where they had to rip out their CRM altogether. With that type of situation, do you take a step back and say, let's start from scratch? You know, I remember you mentioned one time in previous talks about how CRM systems and marketing automation systems usually aren't working hand in hand. There's maybe a list view and that's about it, but they're not really set up to work hand in hand. You know, how do you approach if you already are looking at automating your system? You're already looking at that, but you have a CRM system in place. Do you say, let's take a step back, start from scratch, from the baseline, or do you say, okay, let's go with what we already have and try to patch it, piecemeal it to make it work?
Right. So I think the key is understanding the business.
Okay.
Right. So that's the very first key. Understanding what the strategy is, understanding what it is you're trying to accomplish, understand who your customers are. That's it sounds so obvious, but it's some of the truth. We received a fantastically written email a week ago from a prospect, and this thing was probably 8 paragraphs long, and it laid out in detail exactly what it is they're trying to accomplish, who their customer is, how they buy, why they buy, what they buy, when they buy, the channels that they're using. It was really spectacular. We actually printed it out and we put it up on the wall of our office as like the ideal prospect. because this organization, they knew exactly what it is that they were trying to go do, and but it was really enlightening in that they understood that side of the business well. So when they understand that and what it is they would like to do, that helps to give to bridge the gap between marketing and technology, right? Marketing and IT, which is what I'm finding is to be the big gap today, is that marketing, because they don't have the technology knowledge, they end up defaulting to IT because IT knows technology, but then the IT group is put into a weird space because they don't know the business. That's not their job, is to know the business. But yet they're thrust into this role of validating a business technology. So it's very there's an incongruity there that happens. And marketing just wants to get stuff done. They don't want to take the time to learn the nuances of any platform, or to go learn a data structure, or to go learn the stuff. And maybe they're not capable. I don't know. I'm not clear, but that's where I see is to be one of the major disconnects, and especially with like data structure. So back to your original point, you know, how does one start? So we understand the business first, and then we have to understand where the prospect data resides, right? Is it in a transactional engine? Is it in the CRM? Where is it, and how is it set up? And then we have to make decisions based from that time. Okay, are we going to go with a new CRM? Are we going to take what it is we have? Are we going to do some modifications? Are we not going to do some modifications? I will say this, that you have to run before you can walk, obviously, right? So I don't, you know, and let's take this, and it's important to understand the entire challenge. And then, but it's also to take it and to take it into bite-sized chunks. So we're going to do this piece now, and then we're going to, you know, roadmap it out, calendarize it. We're going to take this chunk, and then we're going to do this chunk, and then this chunk, and this chunk, and it's going to be, we're going to plan it out, and we're going to get it done. But it may take you six months or 9 months to get it implemented. You know, a recent study came out with marketing automation platforms that said the longer it's in the organization, the greater the results tend to become. And I believe part of that is
Okay.
because they start out, you might start out with 3 automated tracks and website tracking. And then you might add lead scoring. And then you might add your social media component into it. And then you might add
Okay.
webs, you might add some other feature to it. You might add an integration with webinar firm, and then you might add integration with chat, and then you might add this. And so it expands, and the impact becomes exponential to the organization. So just because you may not be doing everything now, hey, that's okay. You identify it, and then you say, we're going to start right here and get this in, and then we're going to add this and this and this. And over the course of 9 months, a year, 18 months, these components all then are integrated and implemented into the organization.
Okay.
And the impact becomes great. But again, it goes back to the data structure, right? We have to be able to access the data. That's the whole key. And you don't want it to be in these separate silos that don't talk to each other.
Okay.
I really want it to be in as few silos as possible, right? So you want to be able to have, say, your chat be linked into your CRM, and your support to be linked into your CRM, and your webinars to be linked into your CRM, and your social to be linked to your CRM. So then you can get a better picture of what's happening.
Okay. Now you're saying, as far as putting it together as in building blocks, early on, if you know that maybe you'll have telephone in the future, or you'll have chat in the future, or you'll have other things in the future, do you roadmap that out and make sure at the beginning that you're able to collect that data, even though you're not currently? Or do you kind of perfect what you're doing and then just find something to complement later as you get to that next stage, like webinars and so forth? I mean, because sometimes I think it
depends on right. But I think it's like, I think it's important to go, at least to have that ability to add those components. You may not add them for 6 months or 9 months or like 12 months, but at least you have the option to say no, as opposed to saying, oh, I want to add it, but I can't.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So making sure that you have the ability, even if you don't use it.
Right. For instance, I was speaking to an account yesterday, and they were very concerned that they were not doing social. They were not tweeting, and they were not active in Facebook, and they were not doing LinkedIn, and they wanted to be able to do that, but they just wanted to wait on marketing automation because they weren't doing that now. And it was fun, the discussion that no, it's okay if you're not doing it now, because a lot of firms are struggling with how to monetize those types of efforts, right?
Okay.
So we don't want to delay the ability to automate a business process now. Let's get that in and see who's on our website. So if they're visiting a page, we can send them a coupon, right? We can do that now. And then we figure out how we tie in these other elements and expand our marketing efforts. But we don't need to wait, because, you can always wait for something else to happen. It's like buying a TV, right? I mean, you can buy, like the second you buy a 4K TV today, tomorrow it's obsolete because there's something better.
Yeah.
So you might as well just get started and start trying to see results now, and just do the best you can.
Okay. That makes sense. So, that way it doesn't delay. And I know that's easier said than done, because you got to get buy-in, and everybody wants to know the full picture and so forth. But, at least getting it started and knowing that you want room to scale is important.
Absolutely.
So great. Well, that's some great information, Bill. I think we'll leave them with that. If you want more, Bill's always available, INBOX25, and he's going to be speaking pretty soon. Tell us more about that, Bill.
There's a digital conference coming up. Well, there's many digital conferences, but we're going to be speaking at one in the Philippines coming up in October. And it's a digital conference. I'll give some info to Jeff on this afterwards, and he can post it up on Twitter. But there's going to be a boatload of firms that everybody's heard of: Facebook and Google and Snapchat and all different types of social media firms. It's going to be in Manila in October, and we've been asked to speak, and we've graciously said yes, and it's an exciting opportunity for us. So we'll be there. And I look forward to speaking to you in the future, Jeff. I really enjoy this. I hope your audience, and I hope we've helped at least one firm out. So
yes, I know you have. I mean, the information you always give has been pristine. So I appreciate it, and I know my audience appreciate it. And I would love to come out to the Philippines. So if you can lobby one ticket for me, I greatly appreciate it. But well, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be great.
I'll do my best.
Well, once again, everybody, this has been the marketing strategy session, and we have, or what is it? Back with Bill. That's our segment of our segment, and we hope that you really enjoyed the information, but also take some action with this information, put it in play. And you know, the take-home notes is understand that you can do some more later, but make sure that your IT team and your marketing team can see eye to eye, put together a plan that your data gets put into proper containers and is able to go ahead and transition over without making it more difficult in the future. So, you know, at any time, you can go to Inbox25. Their blog has a lot of information on it that can educate you. And Bill also will be doing more talks. Hopefully, Bill, I can get you on the show again when you have time. And we'll do this again.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Jeff.